Hey you guys, it's Britt. Tonight we're here to talk about a bit of good news in the social media world, especially with the kind of content that I cover as it ties to family vloggers, mommy vloggers, daddy vloggers, whatever you want to kind of label that kind of content. There is some very interesting news coming out of Florida that I wanted to share with y'all. And I also wanted to share my opinions on the Diddy raid of his Miami and LA homes at the end of this video, just as a complete side topic, because I've talked about Diddy before on my channel and I received a few inquiries about it, so I figured that we will put it all into one video. And yeah, so if you're interested, please keep watching. All right, you guys, so I'm going to read this article that comes from The Guardian, and it just says that Ron DeSantis signs Florida social media ban for children into law. Law will ban social media accounts for children under 14 once it takes effect, but must still withstand expected legal challenges. And here's the whole thing. Florida, to me, I'm not a Florida resident, and quite personally, Florida is kind of like the Wild West. I just, like, I've been to Florida numerous times, and it just kind of seems like, I mentioned this in a really old video. If you Google Florida man, you can just see like all of these different stories. You can insert a date and say June 12th, Florida man, and it will come up with some kind of wild and crazy story. You can also do, Florida woman, whatever. It's not just men acting wild, but it's just, Florida to me is a very interesting kind of place. And nevertheless, but it says, the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, has signed a law that has given his state one of the U.S. most restrictive social media bans for minors, though it must still withstand expected legal challenges. Once it takes effect, the bill signed on Monday bans social media accounts for children under 14 and require parental permission for 14 and 15-year-olds. It was slightly watered down from a proposal DeSantis vetoed earlier in March, a week before the annual legislative session ended. The new law was the top legislative priority for Republican State House Speaker Paul Renner. It takes effect on the 1st of January. A child in their brain development doesn't have the ability to know that they're being sucked into these addictive technologies and to see harm and step away from it. And because of that, we have to step in for them. Renner said at a ceremony for the bill signing held at a Jacksonville school. I want to insert right here, this is going to seem really random, but I think it ties into this entire conversation. Little People Big World was a very popular and successful reality TV show. It's still on TLC, I believe. I watched, I've seen episodes from the first couple of seasons, but it's not something that I really kept up with. But I am familiar with the show and kind of what the concept is. One of the kids from that show, Zach, was recently on a podcast where he was talking about a lot of bad things that happened between the kids and the producers and the adults that were involved in the creation of that show and the filming and all of that. And he said something that I saved because I thought that it was so impactful and so important. And basically what he was trying to say is all of these bad things were happening and not a single adult stepped in to protect the kids that were being negatively impacted by the things that were happening. Not a single adult. And I think of that when I think of the Quiet on Set miniseries that was released as well.
My disappointment was probably, in my opinion, it took me to finally say this is done.
Yeah.
Out of other people in the room, multiple people, not just the family members, it was finally this is nonsense.
Yeah.
This is out of control. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that's the core. I said this, season 1, I don't change. We've said this already.
Right.
I've been speaking the same tune multiple scenarios throughout this whole journey that never came. And it just finally ran its course. And it's sad though.
You know, kids don't know any better. They want, like I said 100 other times too, sometimes I feel like a broken record, but kids want to appease the adults in their lives, whether it's mom, dad, uncle, family friend, producer of a TV show, whoever it is. Kids want to appease the adults. And for so many adults to be surrounding children, for not a single one of them to step up and say, this is wrong, this needs to stop, we need to protect these kids, is just really telling. And I think that it shows that, you know, a lot of these adults in certain situations, especially when there's money involved, it just goes to show that they do not care about speaking up and using their morals, if they have any. They care about the money that they're being paid, the money that they're making, the money they're going to be able to spend, the big house that they're going to be able to buy because of what's going on here. And it is just such a selfish display of, I have no morals. I care about that filthy dollar bill just like so many other people do. It's sad. The bill DeSantis vetoed would have banned minors under 16 from popular social media platforms, regardless of parental consent. But before the veto, he worked out compromise language with Renner to alleviate the governor's concern, and the legislature sent DeSantis a second bill. Several states have considered similar legislation. In Arkansas, a federal judge in August blocked enforcement of a law that required parental consent from minors to create new social media accounts. Supporters in Florida hope the bill will withstand legal challenges because it would ban social media formats based on addictive features such as notification alerts and autoplay videos rather than on their content. Renner said he expects social media companies to sue the second after this is signed, but you know what? We're going to beat them, he remarked. We're going to beat them, and we're never ever going to stop. DeSantis also acknowledged the law will be challenged on free speech rights enshrined in the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment. He also bemoaned that the fact the Stop Woke Act he signed into law 2 years ago was recently struck down by an appeals court with a majority of Republican-appointed judges. This other individual, Kara Bonder, a state policy director for the Computer and Communications Industry Association, said in a news release that she understood the concern for online safety, but expressed doubt that the law would meaningfully achieve those goals without infringing on the First Amendment rights of younger users. The bill goes too far in taking away parents' rights. The Democratic State House Representative Anna Eskamani said in a news release, instead of banning social media access, it would be better to ensure improved parental oversight tools, improved access to data, and to stop bad actors, alongside major investments in Florida's mental health systems and programs. So that's kind of what's going on in a really summarized version with that. Here's the thing. A lot of these parents, though, they want their kids on social media because they know that it drives views. They see so many of these other parent vloggers quitting their 9-to-5 jobs, whatever they consider a normal job, and becoming a content creator. But as I've always said, I love content creation. I do it myself as a hobby. But if you are exploiting your children or other people whom trust you and count on you for their safety, then that is a huge problem. And that is why most people, you know, some do, but a lot of us don't have an ounce of respect for these parents who allow their kids on social media. They use their kids for clicks and views. They're building entire brands off of their children's backs, and it is a huge problem. And aside from family vloggers, that does not even touch the topic of younger kids using social media on their own, interacting with people that they might think is a friend and someone that they met on, TikTok or Instagram, and they're, similar age and have similar interests. And it's actually some super creepy person who is, trying to solicit very harmful content from that young person. And young people don't know anything, like they just don't. So this is a very layered and complex conversation, but since I was sent this numerous times, I wanted to touch on it. I think that it could be really good, but it obviously still has other it still has to go through other hurdles, as I explain. So I will keep an eye on that. But yes, young people need to be protected. Everything from an infant all the way up through 16. I've always kind of sat a little on the fence. I'm a little bit of a fence sitter when it comes to what age can kids start to understand what social media is and things like that. I've always said like 17, like 16, 17, depending on the situation. But maybe it's best to just have a huge safety net and just say 18. 18 is the number. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on who you ask. But I want to move on to Diddy. Oh, there is so much happening with Diddy. This is the beginning of the downfall of the entertainment industry as we know it. So the LA Times did a decent article on this, kind of encapsulating what's happened over the last 24 hours, which I'm going to share with y'all, and I will also link it in my description box. But what I want to say is I think that this is going to there's been this conversation of like these people who are super wealthy, super powerful, just sitting at the tip top. These people are being exposed for the weirdos that they are, and a lot of times the inappropriate criminals that they are. And I think that Diddy is just one of those dominoes that is going to fall in a lot of these things being exposed. And I think that for me, I'll speak for myself, like I'm a millennial, and a lot of the things that I grew up liking and listening to or watching, it's just like those things are slowly being ripped apart, exposed, you know, shown for what they really were. I think of like the Nickelodeon Quiet on Set miniseries that I mentioned earlier. It's just, we're having real conversations about just how disgusting some of these people are. And I'm here for it all day. But it is a little interesting to see the things that you grew up on were not really what you thought they were. It's such a kind of a weird position to be in. But this article came out 7 hours ago, and it says Homeland Security agents conducted searches of the Holmby Hills and Miami mansions owned by Sean Diddy Combs on Monday as part of a federal inquiry into trafficking allegations involving the hip hop and liquor mogul. Law enforcement sources said. The 17,000 square foot mansion where Combs debuted his album a year ago was flooded with Homeland Security investigations agents who served a search warrant and gathered evidence on behalf of an investigation being run by the prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, according to law enforcement officials familiar with the inquiry. Earlier today, Homeland Security Investigations New York executed law enforcement actions as a part of an ongoing investigation with the assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. We will provide further information as it becomes available, an HSI spokesperson said in a statement. Sean Holy, an attorney for Combs, did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Go figure, I'm not surprised by that. A hip hop star turned entrepreneur, Combs has become the focus of and allegations in the last year. The raid is the latest and most serious threat to his gilded lifestyle. 4 female plaintiffs have filed civil lawsuits against Combs, accusing him of trafficking a minor, assault, and litany of other alleged abuses. Combs, who is now 54, amassed his fortune first as a hip-hop producer, artist, and founder of Bad Boy Entertainment, the label that launched the career of the late Notorious B.I.G., among others. He later added lucrative fashion companies to his ventures, most notably Sean John. He previously partnered with Ciroc Vodka owner Diego on brand marketing for the liquor. His former girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, Cassie, accused him of and repeated physical assaults and said he forced her to have sex with male prostitutes in front of him. I want to say Cassie is, if you want to say like the starting point of his downfall, I think that Cassie is the one that set all of this in action as far as him being exposed for the monster that he actually is. There have been just so many accounts, so many, just so many things that have come out about him. It is like this massive spider web. And I do think that this is going to end him. I do. After the filing of the 4th suit, Combs wrote on Instagram, "Enough is enough. For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth." Last month, producer Lil Rodney Jones, filed a federal lawsuit against Combs, accusing the embattled media mogul of harassing and threatening him for more than a year. I did not make a video on the Lil Rod situation. I did make a video on the Cassie one, which will be in my description box. Just what a wild situation. Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person that has ever attended his freak-off parties and his house parties. Upon information and belief due to this treasure trove of evidence he has in his possession, Mr. Combs believes he is above the law and he is untouchable. I think that applies to a lot of people that are extremely wealthy and extremely, they're like I said, they're on the top tier. They're in the top 1% of Hollywood's elite. I think that a lot of them would, whether or not they would admit it, they have the same point of view. They are above the law. They are above accusations. They are above everything or anything that they might have done, even if it was 10 years ago. They are above it. They think that they are above everything. Diddy's other lawyer, Aaron Dyer, just said today, this article just came out. He was quoted as saying, "This unprecedented ambush, paired with an advanced coordinated media presence, leads to a premature rush to judgment of Mr. Combs and is nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits." Let me tell you something. You don't have Homeland Security raid your house for nothing. You don't have your drug mule arrested for nothing. Okay? You don't pace around outside of an airport in Florida for nothing. You don't act all awkward at your most recent LA public appearance for nothing. I think that Diddy knows that this is the end of the road for him. And, I saw Heather Shaw. She is on TikTok and she called him P. Diddler. And I hate that word, but it is such a valid descriptor for him, because he has been just, he has been, there's just so many questions. His ties to Justin Bieber, when Justin Bieber was literally 15 years old. Everything with Cassie, everything with people who have come forward with their stories. Like, it's just all too much, and this is the beginning of the end. And listen, If you have been a bad person in your lifetime, I think it's only fair that you were exposed while you are still here. You can respond for yourself. You can have your $1 million attorney respond for you. But I think that people that are inappropriate and disgusting should have to answer to all of the people that have come forth with very similar experiences having dealt with this one individual. But it's a lot. Yeah, so either way, the last thing that I want to close out with is that I want to send my deepest thoughts to the community of Baltimore, Maryland. There was that bridge collapse today, and I've also been watching a lot of that, and it is just so heartbreaking and so devastating that there were construction workers on that bridge repairing potholes when the bridge actually collapsed, and unfortunately, as of the last time that I checked the news, they were still searching for those construction workers. So if you are in or around Baltimore, or maybe you happen to know somebody who has family that is tied to that situation, absolutely in my thoughts. It is just beyond devastating, and I'm keeping those people in my thoughts. So I think that's enough for today. If you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. And if you'd like to see more from me in the future, please subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.